You're watching The Explosive exclusive with me and Navika Kumar, and we can tell you now with confirmation at hand that the Narcotics Control Bureau has decided to investigate the video that you're going to see on your screens in just about 30 seconds. This video is been shot by Karan Johar. Navika, it went viral last year. It was uploaded. Afterwards, a large number of individuals began to comment on it. One of those individuals was the man on the extreme right of our screens, Manjinder Singh Sirsa, who's an Akali Dal MLA at that time, and he came out and said very clearly that someone from within this particular group, affiliated to this particular group, had tipped him off about the fact that drugs were being used at this particular party. But when he complained, if you remember,
there was absolutely no movement. No movement from the Mumbai Police. Clearly, for them, it was business as usual, Rahul. Yes. Simply because these parties happen and status quo is the best that the Mumbai Police really believes in. And August of 2019 is when this complaint was made by Mr. Sirsa to the Mumbai Police. And till 2 days ago, when he met with the NCB chief, there has been no action. Day before yesterday, Mr. Sirsa, Manjinder Singh Sirsa, met with Mr. Rakesh Asthana, the Director General of the Narcotics Control Bureau, and today this investigation has been handed over to the Mumbai office of the Narcotics Control Bureau. So clearly it's a crackdown on drugs, it's a crackdown on all these substances which have been used and abused by many. Note the word many, not all, and this is something that is going to be the focus of investigations from here on.
Well, first, of course, we are being told, and we're going to go across to our reporters in just a few moments. But Navika, if you remember, there was absolutely no action. There were repeated reminders sent by Mr. Sirsa to the police. Nothing came back to them. Highly unusual, given the fact that it was a lawmaker who was actually making this particular complaint. But now that the NCB has stepped in, what are you hearing from your sources about the manner in which they're going to go about probing this? Because first, of course, the footage will be authenticated. I don't think there's any doubt about the fact that it's been taken by Mr. Karan Johar. Now, whether there were drugs or not will be investigated in a systematic way. I suppose the first point of reference will be to summon Karan Johar at some point.
Well, at the moment, what has been done is that the head office, the headquarters of Narcotics Control Bureau has given this entire investigation to the Mumbai department. We don't know yet, but since the party was held at Karan Johar's house, ostensibly from the reports that came in, clearly there would be some amount of questions that were asked of him, and in fact, Kangana Ranaut, when she spoke to me 2 days ago, had clearly said that no questions had been asked to Karan Johar because he happens to be a friend of what is now the ruling party in Maharashtra. So, you know, those allegations that are coming in from within the film industry, and now this investigation coming forth, because you can see several A-listers as part of that video, and this video now and this party and possibly the alleged use of narcotics in this party is going to be the subject matter of an investigation by the Narcotics Control Bureau.
Well, of course, it'll all begin by obviously authenticating this video first. So that's going to be the first port of call. Let me just open this up and let's go straight across to some of our reporters on the ground. Priyank and Tamal, Siddhant and Imran are also there with us. Siddhant, first to you. Let me just come straight off the bat to you. This video, of course, doing the rounds now, social media, for about a year. At that point of time when it had come out, a large number of people seemed to suggest that drugs were used, and that's why it came into prominence. Of course, there was a lot of speculation. It led nowhere. Manjinder Singh Sirsa himself had tweeted that video at that time, making that very strong allegation. Many people rubbished it by saying that he had a motive because he was making up for the fact that Urta Punjab was a movie that was made to malign the image of Punjab, and he wanted to hit back at Bollywood. and therefore he was pouncing on this particular video. But at that time, he had written, no action was taken. Has the Mumbai police told you why they didn't think it necessary to investigate this video or even question any of the attendees of that party in this particular video, given the fact that a lawmaker was making that allegation based on an input that he got, he said, from somebody who was very close to these A-list actors? Of course, they were only, if at all, if it is proven at any point, they were only guilty of consuming drugs, if it, of course, is proven, and not peddling it. So there is that distinction. Perhaps the police didn't act because of that, but nonetheless, why wasn't any probe, even a preliminary probe, undertaken?
Well, Rahul, first of all, Mumbai Police had not taken any suo moto case on this video. Then complaint came from Mr. Sirsa. Sirsa had also spoken to media at that point in time. I still remember that day when I was in touch with the officers in Mumbai Police, and I was trying to get version from that day, on that particular day, when Mr. Sirsa for the very first time wrote a letter to Mumbai Police Commissioner. But there was no reply, Rahul. We were told that we cannot take action on any such video, on social media, on a complaint made by some random individual, even if he happens to be MLA. How will we able to prove our case that these people are intoxicated or they are under an influence of drug? So we are not going to take any action. So this is what we were told. Now another officer who was in charge at that point in time told me that we are seeking legal opinion. So I still remember that day when I was speaking to Mumbai police officers regarding this particular video. Now you see, right 1 year after, Mr. Manjinder Singh Sirsa met Mr. Rakesh Asthana, DG and Narcotics Control Bureau, and now finally the inquiry has started. This has been confirmed that Mumbai zone has been given charge of this entire inquiry. They will first look into the authenticity of the video and the claims that are being made by Mr. Manjinder Singh Sirsa, and then in all likelihood, as you mentioned, Rahul, the first and the initial step of any inquiry would be to summons, to call all these individuals and to record their statement. So this is absolutely right, Rahul, that 1 year back there was no action taken. Not just Mumbai police, even people in power then were also informed about this particular video, but no action was taken, Rahul. Back to you.
Let me also get in Priyank Tripathi. And Priyank, I want to ask you this question. The Narcotics Control Bureau, which is looking at the Sushant Singh Rajput case and the connections of drugs, narcotics in this entire case, I want to ask you today, when they have received, the Mumbai office has received intimation of this, entire video, which had gone viral last year and which has been brought up once again by former MLA Mr. Manjinder Singh Sirsa. Is this now going to be a fresh investigation? Is it going to be part of the same investigation? And will all the A-listers, Shahid Kapoor, Malaika Arora, Zoya Akhtar, many faces visible there in that video, will all of them be called, and what's the time frame the Narcotics Control Bureau is looking at?
See, Navika, let me give a breaking input for our viewers that this particular video has been sent for forensic examination by the Narcotics Control Bureau, because what our sources have been telling us since morning, that they have taken cognizance on the complaint of Manjinder Singh Sirsa, and the DG Narcotics, Mr. Rakesh Asthana, had handed over this particular video with the information or the letter by Sirsa to the Mumbai unit. And on the second question of yours, Navika, certainly there will be a separate CIR which is expected to be filed by the Narcotics Control Bureau if their video is found authentic. This is what our officers in the Mumbai who are right now camping from the Delhi have told it to Times Now. So very specifically, the NCB is certainly not looking this video as a lighter thing, because what they have found in the two CIR which has been filed by them, one CIR number 15 which has led to the series of arrests, 18 individuals have been arrested, and the CIR number 16 in which Sara Ali Khan and other individuals like Rakul Preet are expected to be called in for joining the investigation. So since all these things which were taken for granted over the period of decades, this is not a matter of 1 year or 2 years, Navika. This has been going in the film industry since years, where they have been very clear proof of these drug lords not even giving drugs to these film stars, but their money was also used in various production houses. And as we were also talking few days back, Navika, if you remember, that one of a prominent film producer has also been getting money from these drug lords who had invested in their production houses. So they were very clear proofs, but this is a time to unearth the larger nexus. This is a time to go into the detail, and since there are proofs and the complaint, because any investigating agency really takes a suo motu action on these kind of video, they certainly go through a proper channel. Since the complaint has been filed by a prominent member of the society, so very soon the action is expected to happen in this case. This video has been sent for forensic examination so that the authenticity of the video could come out very soon.
That's an important piece of news. If forensic analysis is what will, I think, be the starting point of this entire investigation, Rahul, simply because this video, we've only seen the version that's come out on social media.
Yes.
Now, whether, this has been...
if there was more of it and just diced and put out.
Yeah. Are there clips that have been taken out? Are they from one single party? Are they different parties in different homes of individuals? Well, all of that will have to be looked at through the forensic analysis, and I think that is going to be the beginning point. But Bollywood has been so divided. On the one hand, there has been somebody like Kangana who's been saying, yes, there is drugs.
Yeah.
Yes, there are all these contraband stuff that is being used. On the other hand, some senior people in Bollywood have come out and said that don't paint everybody with the same brush. The fact is, with this investigation, this divide is only likely to deepen further.
Absolutely. This divide will deepen further. Remember, viewers, there are two sides to this story. There's one side that constantly comes out and says that, look, you can't equate the recreational use of drugs with the peddling of drugs. You can't say that certain people who have fallen victim to consuming drugs are part of some large mafia, that they are part of an organized underworld, police, neta, mafia. They might just have fallen into a bad pattern or being sucked into drug use by individuals who use it in a closed circle, in a social circle. So let's not villainize everybody. Then there are, of course, others who are saying that this is an attempt at going after a select group of individuals in Bollywood amongst the A-list that have taken fairly strident positions in recent times against the political establishment, the ruling political establishment at the center. Then yet there are others who are saying that, for a few rotten apples, why is the entire industry being tarred? There are many individuals in different industries that are caught taking drugs or have had associations with drug peddlers, but no one goes out and says that the entire industry, for example, let's just, the business industry, for example, certain retail industrial giants have been under the scanner for taking drugs in the past, but no one said that the entire retail industry was part of the drug culture. So, viewers, there are many people who come in at different levels with different points of view. All that may be, of course, very legitimate, but the fact of the matter is that for now, very uncommonly, Tamal, the A-list will find it a bit difficult if the Narcotic Controls Bureau starts really investigating. Because then, leads just come out and it becomes extremely difficult then to basically draw these distinctions.
Well, Rahul, what I can confirm at this point in time, apart from this video, the other worry which is looming large in Bollywood is the fact that Rahul Rafat, the peddler who has been picked up by NCB and now right behind me at the NCB office, he has been picked up yesterday along with curated buds, along with marijuana. And now we have also learned from NCB sources that he had been peddling drugs to the Bollywood. Now, NCB had been quite responsible in letting us know that much, and they're also looking for his boss, his direct handler. The man is now absconding, and we know his name. We are withholding his name at this point, and a massive manhunt has been launched to nab that very gentleman. What you've learned from NCB, that these two individuals had been in touch with certain actors, certain event managers, certain celebrities, and they are clearly connected with Bollywood. So Bollywood might want to debunk this entire video. Bollywood celebrities might choose to take a holier than thou position. But when this investigation goes forward, it would be extremely significant to watch out as which way is the investigation going forward and who all are getting summoned. With regards to the video, yes, as Priyank mentioned, the video
that really is going to show us, whether the charges that have been made on Bollywood, whether they'll stick, whether just a little party is being blown out of proportion. So let me get in on this very question on why this entire investigation was buried for a year and why now is the time to look at this. We have joining us tonight Yuvraj Singh, who is Sushant Singh Rajput's friend, Prachi Adhikari, actor and social activist, Vijay Lakshmi Khopare, who's an advocate, Yogesh Saxena, advocate. But my first question goes to Mr. Sanjay Hegde, senior counsel and somebody who argues cases in the Supreme Court. Mr. Sanjay Hegde, I want to ask you, isn't this something that should be investigated into, given the fact that we are not only looking at whether this is one industry that is being blamed, whether this happens in other parts, but in Bollywood, we've seen a murder slash abetment of suicide case which has come up, and there is an angle of drugs, and many people from the industry itself have come out and said that this is rampant and has created problems for many a newcomer in the industry. So isn't it time that we cleaned up Bollywood of this kind of drug usage which is so rampant?
Well, I don't think that the NCB or anybody else is in the business of social reform. There can be consumption of drugs in any workplace. Drugs are a problem in India. It is when it gets systematic, when that industry itself is indulging in large-scale peddling forward. That is, if an industry uses drug money to finance itself, then of course there would be a problem. Here it looks like more like a consumption problem which has come to the fore in the background of an investigation into an entirely different case altogether. Now you can start off from one investigation and go on a roving and fishing inquiry all over the place. You could then possibly go and check about how many people beat their wives. And please prove that you don't beat your wife. That's not exactly what the NCB is designed for. The NCB is designed.
Mr. Sanjay Hegde, I just want to interrupt you for a little clarification that I want. Are you saying that social reform is not something that India should be looking at? Are you saying that Bollywood should not be a place where they should begin, given the fact that they are icons for a whole new younger generation? And number three, it's part of folklore that there is underworld money, there is the fact that there are drugs that are got in, and there are many of these who are either in Bollywood or connected to Bollywood. We don't know. It's been said. There was the NN Vora committee report which came after the Mumbai blast, and since then it's always been part of a conversation, but never have you seen a complete investigation. Don't you think it's time?
Let me put it this way. The link between easy money of doubtful origin and Bollywood is much older than your Vora committee also. The great Bollywood characters like Mona Darling were rooted firmly in the world of people who engaged on the wrong side of the law and then who got respectability through Bollywood. you have Ram Theri Ganga Maili, whose heroine Mandakini went on to marry Dawood Ibrahim. This kind of linkages have been there. The question is, has anything gone up to such an alarming extent that you want to overthrow the entire industry? You want to clean it up, and whose job is it to clean it up? Should the industry clean itself up? I have my doubts. There is one specific incident where there has been a doubt as to whether it was suicide or a homicide, or it was an abetment to suicide. There is an inquiry going on into that. But because an inquiry is going on into that incident,
Yuvraj Singh, Sushant Singh Rajput's friend, I want to get you in. Mr. Sanjay Hegde says that there is no emergency. After all, one incident has happened. Is it one incident?
Yeah.
What about Disha Salian? What about the questions of there are, many reports coming in that there are other people who have, somebody's died in a motorcycle accident, somebody's gone underground. There are many such incidents that are being reported. Now, whether they have connections or not to the Sushant Singh Rajput case, the fact is that this case has become an eye-opener. Should we not seize this as an emergency call, or should we just say एक और incident हो गया है, भूल जाओ, आगे बढ़ो, कल फिर होगा तो फिर देखेंगे?
No, totally. I disagree with Mr. Hegde there, totally. That you cannot just rule out this whole incident. It's a huge problem that has been existing in the film industry. I've been working in the film industry for almost 15 years. I produced 5 films. And when I hear things like, आप उस थाली में खा रहे हो जिसमें छेद कर रहे हो, who's helped me? Nobody's helped me. I'm making my own films. I'm using my own money. Okay? I've given blockbuster hits in Punjab on my own money. There's no Jaya Bachchan. There's nobody who's come up to me and said, we'll give you work. Same thing applied for Sushant Singh Rajput. He worked hard. He came up in the industry, and then he was totally boycotted by these guys who are high on their own supply. I mean, are you kidding me? Do you mix work with drugs? You want to do drugs? Go do it in a farmhouse. Don't mix it with your work. You don't have the right to lace someone's drink, food, ruin his life, stay with him, take his money. What are you saying? This all is crime. This has to stop. And he's giving things about Mandakini and Dawood. What is he saying? This is a clear-cut crime. It has to be proven. What happened to Disha Salian? What happened to Sushant's final thing? Nothing's coming out. We are just getting into something or the other all the time. This is a big problem. Drugs is a big problem. Please identify it and rectify it. Otherwise, this industry is going down and people are going to die.
The point is that the NCB is now beginning to look in places where at least the state police force was not willing to go. That's what Manjinder Singh Sirsa has said. Let's just play out that soundbite of Manjinder Singh Sirsa after his complaint has been taken up finally after 13 months, viewers, of gathering dust. It's been taken up. Sirsa is very, very excited about this. He thinks that it is going to lead to a complete cleanup. Let's first listen in.
अगर इसकी छानबीन हुई होती तो ये लोगों के सारे राज खुले होते, तो सुशांत सिंह जैसे एक बहुत बड़े अभिनेता को हम ना खोते। लेकिन अब क्योंकि इसकी जांच शुरू हो गई, मुझे इस बात की तसल्ली है और इसकी जांच देश की एक प्रीमियर एजेंसी नारकोटिक्स कंट्रोल ब्यूरो कर रही है। मुझे पूरा यकीन है कि अब बड़ी मछलियां, गंदी मछलियां जो बॉलीवुड को भी बदनाम कर रही थी, जिन लोगों ने पंजाब को बदनाम करने के लिए अपनी स्टोरी, जो कि करण जौहर और शाहिद कपूर जैसे लोगों की स्टोरी थी, वो उस पे मूवी बनाकर और पंजाबियों को पूरे दुनिया भर में बदनाम किया, जबकि सारा देश जानता है कि हीरोइन मूवी बनी या फैशन मूवी बनी और बॉलीवुड के अंदर ड्रग्स थी, लेकिन उन्होंने हमें बदनाम करना ठीक समझा। एक पॉलिटिकल अपॉर्चुनिटी का फायदा उठाकर अब वो तथ्य सामने आएंगे। यह भी सामने आएगा कि क्यों ऐसी मूवी बनाई गई और कौन इसके पीछे था और इस ड्रग माफिया में कौन कौन है। और जब ये परतें खुलेंगी तो बड़े बड़े स्टार ही नहीं बल्कि स्टार के साथ बड़े नेता भी, बड़े लोग भी जो इनको शरण देते थे, जो इनकी जिनकी शरण में ये सारा गोरख धंधा चल रहा था, वो सब लोगों के नाम बेनकाब होंगे। और करण जौहर जो कहा करता था कॉफी विद करण, अब उसको कॉफी विद एमसी भी देखनी पड़ेगी।
Well, that Navika is a very strident position that Mr. Sirsa has taken. He believes that the big patrons, the big fish, all will now be, drained out of the swamp in one sense.
Well, it will have to be a cautious investigation, because at one level, there can't be a witch hunt just because somebody is big and successful, so you go after him, and just because there are different camps in the industry, so one camp is pitted against the other. But having said that, the issue really here is, if self-regulation doesn't work, sometimes agencies have to come in. Isn't that the real issue here, Mr. Yogesh Saxena, that nobody in Bollywood will ever come up and say that, yes, this is a problem. Yes, it is a problem for young people who come into the industry. It's not just about stars. It could be about those, who work behind the scenes. It could be those people who come from backgrounds where the arc lights can be extremely mesmerizing, and this kind of a lifestyle can literally put them off the track, while other people, who know what they are doing may be better placed to handle it. Some people may not be. So isn't this something that also needs to be looked at?
I just tell you one thing, Navika. In 1985, the NDPS Act came into force, and thereafter in 2001, the famous case of Fardeen Khan happened when he was found in possession of 1 gram of cocaine, and thereafter 2 beneficial provisions were enacted in the NDPS Act. Thereby section 27 and 64A of the NDPS Act was incorporated under the NDPS Act, whereby the person, those who are the consumer and those who are willing to go for the de-addiction, they will not be even prosecuted, they will get the immunity. Now after 2001, now we are in 2020. So much water has been flown, and now the central government will have to think about it. As far as the drug consumption is concerned, this exists in some part of our society. They will have to divide between the hard drugs and the recreational drugs, and they will have to bring out some formula whereby, as far as the recreational drugs are concerned, they can be legalized and persons should not be harassed. As far as the Narcotics Control Bureau is concerned, it's a nodal agency, and they were
You are worried about harassment of some. What about the lives of others, Prachi Adhikari? Lives of others is a small incident, it's being said, and harassment is a bigger issue, Prachi?
These are adult persons.
Can I talk?
Yes, please go ahead.
The person who's talking about the recreational drugs should be allowed and this drug shouldn't be allowed.
But now things have to be changed.
No, sir, please let me speak, sir. Let me have my point here. Any sort of drug, any sort of thing that makes you tipsy, unconscious shouldn't be allowed, as we people who are working hard and from outside world who are new to the industry, and we are trying to pop up and make a place over here. Do you know if they add a LCD or a LSD or a MDMA in some girl's drink, and she's unconscious for 4 hours or 6 hours, anyone, like 10 people can rape her, a gang rape can take place. She can be unconscious and she can be hospitalized, she can die. Do you know what you're talking? Such a person like you, you're so mature enough to understand if instead of that girl who's being a victim of such thing, your own family girl would be there. Would you say that, okay, this drug is allowed and this shouldn't be allowed? People are seeing these people as icons.
There are many countries in Europe, there in Netherlands, in Belgium, there are certain drugs which have been allowed by the government. Marijuana is permitted over there. Weed is permitted over there.
They are asking for conditions. They have no conditions here. And what Jai Bachchan says, that this thali mein khate hai, this thali he has given to me. I am trying to have my own place. Look at my face. I'm much more prettier than this Alia and other. But I cannot get. Why? Because they have their own conditions. They have their own things. You are not going around with them. You're not sleeping with them. You're not having drug parties with them. Kajal Agrawal managers once called me and said there is a rape party going on.
Madam, as far as access in everything is bad. In access, everything is bad. Madam, you will have to understand, in European countries like Netherlands, Belgium, there are shops which has been authorized by the government. You can go, you can smoke, you can consume certain drugs which are allowed. Now we are living in 20th century, madam. Government will have to think about it. In case any person is taking so much liquor, that person will also get affected. Similarly, in case he is taking so much drugs, he will be.
Drug provision, drug thing. I told them that the youngsters of this country are getting destroyed by this drug, and I got this from Home Ministry. So the kind of work I'm doing, right? You cannot even think of. I'm writing letters. I write educational minister also. So I do so much of work. This film is my hobby. This film is not my life. But yes, the way I'm seeing.
That is why, madam, I said government will have to draw a distinction between the hard drugs and the recreational drugs. Every recreational drug is not dangerous. It's not harmful to you.
They talk to you like you are into flesh trade. They talk to you like you are some drug addict. They don't know what they're talking. A person of my father age talk to me such things I cannot even say on national television. You don't know what humiliation we go through. I saw a person was saying a day before yesterday on a TV channel, yeah, maybe they are not talented, maybe the outsider people are not talented, maybe they don't have space. Look at me, sir. Don't I look pretty? How a person sitting on television can say, I don't know acting. I know much better acting. I can act and I can have more better expression than those people. Because after, they don't even give us goal. We don't even get to, they don't even serve us goal. What platter she talks about, I really don't know. We have to make our own journey. We have to make our own place. Bit by bit. Small, low budget movies I'm doing right now.
I know, Prachi, you're extremely emotional because you're an actor and you're a social activist. You may have, had experiences which really make you agitated about just the way Chalta Hai is done in some of these cases. But Vijay Lakshmi Khopade, I want to ask you, is there a mandate that somebody has to give agencies, for social reform? The fact is the law as it exists today is against this. Now, as far as the law is against it, agencies have the right to begin the cleanup and to look at why the law is being broken. If we don't like the law, then the approach for that is completely different. Like Mr. Yogesh was saying, in many countries, consumption is allowed for a little bit, and there are definitions of what are the quantities for consumption and how much individuals can hold on their person or in their houses. But the fact of the matter is, that is a totally different route to take, which means the laws will have to be amended. There will have to be a discussion, a debate between political parties. There will have to be people who want this. After all, 377 was changed only because there were people who were asking it. But so long as the law exists in the current form, Vijay Lakshmi, can we say कि चलता है, चलने दो, parties में तो होता है, and why are we blaming anybody? Chalta hai can't be allowed because the law doesn't permit it.
Definitely. That is absolutely correct. As far as the law is concerned, I'm of the firm opinion that the laws in India are beautiful. They are to the point. They are exact. What lacks is the execution of the law. Now, in this case, it is the duty of the Narcotics Control Bureau, a central agency, which is empowered to take into consideration and who is duty bound basically to control the drugs. Now, I think in this case, NCB has really fallen down.
As far as distinction part is concerned, that distinction has already been drawn under the NDPS Act.
I'm coming to that point.
Navika, if you permit me to let me come into it, because you put a certain.
Sir, your
because that distinction has already been done under the NDPS.
Ms. Khopade, one second. Ms. Khopade, one second. Let Mr. Saxena is trying to make a nuanced point. He's saying he's not getting a free a fair opportunity to represent that point with the nuance that he wants to bring in. Yes.
Yes, sir.
क्या बोल रहे हैं?
Let me explain. In 2001, when the amendment was made under the NDPS Act, whereby Section 27 and 64A. 64A is a beneficial provision for a person who consumes drugs. So when this amendment was made, the central government was aware of the fact that there is a class of the people, those who consume drugs. And in case they are willing to reform themselves, in case they are willing to go back to the society, in case they are willing to get rid of this problem, they can go to the de-addiction center and they will get the immunity, even they will not be prosecuted. So as far as that provision is concerned, that provision already exists under the NDPS Act. And that is why, as far as the police is concerned, Narcotics Control Bureau is concerned, they are not investigating the matter. But as far as the question of the drug peddling is concerned, that drug peddling is a serious offense, and in case any information is coming whereby the supplies have been made to the person, they must break the chain. In case the person, those who consume, in case they are not getting anything to consume, they will not consume, and then the system can be cleaned. In case the drug peddlers are not stopped, then this problem will remain there. And just to protect the person,
peddlers will exist till such time that there are consumers. You can't have consumers without peddlers, and you can't have peddlers without consumers. At the moment, as the law stands today, both are disallowed.
That is why I do agree with you.
People to have drugs.
That's the point, Mr. Sanjay Hegde. Mr. Sanjay Hegde, at the moment, both consumption, peddling, selling, arranging, everything is against the law. If we are talking about the laws being made more liberal, if we are talking about reforms in these laws because they are archaic, isn't that a separate debate? As of now, the law as it stands, it prohibits consumption and distribution.
But there is a graded system. The graded system is
that
small
law is already
quantities.
there.
Something more than a small quantity, and then commercial quantities. If you're dealing in commercial quantities, then you're a dealer. Small quantities, consumption. Somewhere in between, then there are greater punishments. There is a grading, and also, if you happen to be a user who is caught for the first time, you can even go for rehabilitation. So there are some provisions. Now the other debate is, should some drugs be legalized for consumption? Marijuana, for instance. Medical marijuana is often advised. The point is that in India itself, you have things like bhang, which are freely available all over Banaras, all over a lot of places during Holi. Now, it is the same plant, different extracts of it, which then go on to becoming charas and whatnot. That is where legislative policy comes in.
Okay. Well, this debate will keep raging, but the fact is that the lens is now on certain number of A-listers. How the NCB is going to proceed, we will have to wait and watch. We're getting, as we told you viewers at the beginning of this show, we're getting reports from those who are now going to be investigating that the first and foremost task is to try and get hold of the entire footage to authenticate the veracity of the claims that have been made just by examining the footage. If there is a problem with the footage, then questions could be asked, individuals can be summoned. But first, the question will go out obviously to the people who have put this out, who have recorded this video, to supply them what would be in parlance called unedited footage, if it exists, that is. We're taking a short break. Lots more coming up, viewers. A big agenda-setting news break just after this short break. Stay with us. Don't go away.